Hi, boys and girls.
This is Ford Week at our secret garage. A lot of people ask me what's behind this door at our secret garage, and in honor of you Ford lovers, I'm going to show you exactly what we have back here. Welcome to my Ford Dream Garage. Mustang. Another Mustang. 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 Ooh, pretty Mustang. Mustang. Old Mustang. Boss Mustang. I wanted to drive a Mustang this week for our test, but Ford wants me to drive this truck instead. Hey, I can't complain. 55 grand worth of fancy truck with everything on it. This is the 2016 Ford F-150 Lariat with the high-performance V8. There are 4 engines available on the F-150. There's a 3.5 V6 putting out 282 horsepower. This 5.0 we see here putting out 385 horsepower. Then we have the EcoBoost engines, a 2.7 EcoBoost at 325 horses, and an EcoBoost 3.5 liters with 365 horse. Before we got this V8 F-150, we also tested one with the 2.7 EcoBoost. We're going to give you the performance specs and gas mileage of that engine for comparison purposes. In fact, here's a clip of what I had to say about the 2.7 on a previous video. At this point, I put about 200 miles on this engine, and I can tell you on a scale of 1 to 10, it's definitely a 10 as far as performance goes. For starters, it's quick. Hitting 0 to 60 in around 6.7 seconds thus far. Nice brakes, by the way. Which means on the lighter two-wheel drive, you're looking around 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds. Now, Car and Driver magazine said 5.8 seconds, but I think they lie a bit. In any case, this engine is flawless. It doesn't matter if you're going low speed, low RPM, high RPM, low grade, high grade. You simply press the gas pedal and it moves like magic. This engine is perfect. You really got to drive it and see for yourself. Yes, the 2.7 was a great engine, but let's see how this V8 compares. This V8 doesn't have the tire smoking torque ability of the 2.7 EcoBoost, but it's quick enough, especially if you get the performance axle ratio like I did. All you have to do is wait for the 385 horses to kick in. On paper, the 0 to 60 time for this V8 was exactly the same as the 2.7 liter EcoBoost at 6.7 seconds. The difference was the EcoBoost had a lighter extended cab body versus this double cab body, which is heavier. On the other hand, I have a gas tank that's almost empty, while the EcoBoost tank was almost full. So you'll have to do the math to figure out which one would have been quicker if you move things around, but on paper, they're pretty much the same. On the other hand, in the real world, I must admit the torque ability of the EcoBoost was better than the V8. You could really light up the tires with it, but hey, I don't buy trucks to drag race. So it's a personal choice. Personally, I prefer the V8 because I'm an old-fashioned guy and that's what I've grown up with. The main advertised difference between the V8 and the 2.7 EcoBoost revolves around the fuel economy figures. This is supposed to max out at 21 on the freeway, while the EcoBoost maxes out at 23 on the freeway. We'll be doing about 500 miles of driving, so we'll be discussing that later on in the video. But first, we need to take a closer look at the truck itself, and we'll start by testing the headlights when it gets dark tonight. I think it's dark enough, so let's go light up something. Here we have a building 100 feet away, and we're on low beams. Plenty of light. High beams, wow. That's a real blowtorch there. Here we have the high beams on a building 300 feet away. As expected, lights up everything pretty good. Go to low beam, still reaches out there. On a dark, deserted street like this, you can see the lights go even further too. For backcountry roads, these are excellent headlights. In fact, they're some of the best headlights I've ever seen on a pickup truck this year. Now, getting back to the truck, one thing I don't like on trucks are running boards like this. They make off-roading difficult and usually get damaged, but hey, these on the Ford aren't too bad. They're really up there in the bodywork. And we did do some four-wheeling. We'll be doing more later on in the video, and they really weren't a problem. So I like these, even though I don't like running boards in general. I was totally flabbergasted to see a $55,000 truck does not have a bed liner. I looked at the window sticker, and it's supposed to have a spray-in bed liner for $495 extra. I'm told the dealer is supposed to do this before delivery, and apparently they haven't done it yet. So I'm going to have to be real careful what I put in here. That brings us to the aluminum construction. Before we move on to other things, I just have some thoughts about beds, bed liners, and aluminum versus steel construction, because there's a commercial on TV where Chevrolet's been dumping tons of cinder blocks in their steel bed and just has a few scratches and dents, and they dump a bunch of cinder blocks in the Ford aluminum bed and it gets all banged up and dented, blah blah. Look, if you're going to be dumping cinder blocks from a bulldozer for a living, you're going to have a bed liner. If you have a bed liner, it doesn't really matter if you have an aluminum construction or steel construction. So I think it's kind of a pointless argument. The disadvantage of the aluminum body, I just haven't found any yet. The advantages are many. So if you're worried about aluminum construction in these Ford trucks, I haven't had anyone give a legitimate beef yet. And that's all I can say about aluminum constructions, beds, and bed liners. If you don't agree, send the hate mail. I know I'll get some. Here's a copy of that ad with the Silverado on the left and the Ford on the right, dumping all these blocks in the bed. And supposedly the Chevy bed is untouched while the Ford bed is totally trashed. Where's the bed liner, folks? You're cheating. And now supposedly the Ford bed is totally destroyed. Like anyone's going to do this without a bed liner. Come on, let's get serious. Here's another shot. The Silverado on the left, the Ford totally banged up on the right. Really, guys, this is an insult to our intelligence. I would like somebody out there on YouTube to do a rematch on this, only give both trucks bed liners next time. Then we'll see what happens. Ford claims this aluminum construction saves up to 700 pounds in weight. The key word is up to 700 pounds. That's compared to a lot of the older Ford bodies. Compared to GM and Ram, maybe not so much. The Rams lost a lot of weight because they went to a simpler suspension. But I'm not going to get into all the figures and politics of it all. The bottom line is, this truck is a lot lighter than the previous models, and it shows on the acceleration runs and fuel economy. I think in the future, most trucks are going to go this route. It's just a matter of time. By the way, I think this is a very nice looking truck. There are a lot of good features in the cabin too. This is an excellent gauge cluster. Lots of useful information here. Steering wheel controls are well placed, big enough to use with gloves. Power window controls up here on top of the door, easily reached. A nice climate control system with big knobs and big buttons, the way it should be. Same big knobs and buttons for the navigation and entertainment system. A simple control knob for the four-wheel drive system, which we'll be using later. There's not too much room in this glove box, but we get lots of storage space at the center console box. Oh, I didn't know I had any money. The only beef I had was this fake wood trim here. Why do they put this fake wood trim? This isn't 1970. Make it go away, please. It's 104 degrees outside, so I really appreciated the air-conditioned seats. As it gets colder, I'll appreciate the heated seats when we go to the mountains tomorrow. But hey, for 55,000 bucks, you'd think it would have that, right? We've talked enough about the specs. It's time to do some driving. We're going to go out on the freeway for around 300 or 400 miles and do some off-roading as well. That'll tell us the actual fuel economy too. I've already put about 100 miles in heavy city traffic. My average was around 13.0. Now we're going to get on the freeway and see if we can make it better. This truck is very quiet and relaxed on the freeway. If you're hearing a lot of background noise, most of it's from the air conditioning I have on full blast because at the moment it's 102 degrees outside and I want to stay cool in here. This V8 has excellent passing power on these steep upgrades. Not quite as strong as the EcoBoost engines, but strong enough. All this high RPM passing has made my gas gauge drop quite a bit. Of course. I was doing 18 mpg until I started flooring it on those upgrades. Now it's dropped to 16 mpg. We'll see if we can make up for that going down the road. We just finished a highway trip, 96 miles, 17.2 mpg, averaging around 75 miles per hour. Keep in mind this was all uphill. We started at 2,000 feet elevation and we had topped off at 6,000 feet elevation, which is where we are now. So it won't be until the return trip, going from 6,000 to 2,000 feet, adding them both up and dividing by 2, that we'll have the accurate highway mileage. By the way, I did this same trip in the 2.7 EcoBoost and got 15.5 going uphill and 23 going back downhill with an average of 19. So it should be interesting how this V8 compares. We'll be taking the return highway trip tomorrow, but today we're doing some off-roading and tonight meeting some people and doing some camping. After all, that is what a 4x4 is made for, right? The suspension's doing an excellent job of absorbing impacts, especially on the ripple's surface. That's one area where bigger trucks have superiority over the smaller vehicles. Now it's time to get off the pavement and watch out for these big rocks, which I don't think is going to be an issue. The F-150 has excellent ground clearance, but this one also has this air dam in front to increase fuel economy on the freeway. You have to be careful. If you go into a dip on the wrong spot, you can smash it up. Otherwise, we have no issues there. Okay, we made it. And I've shown this before. This is from the Labor Day weekend about a month or two ago. Some slobs that don't like taking their trash back. It's still here. We'll see if we can burn some of it. Let's see, what was the weather report today? Clear and sunny. I think they use a dartboard to predict the weather, not these TV stations. While we are enjoying our campfire, I do have one beef with this Ford F-150, and it concerns the lighting system. Right now, the vehicle, you can hardly see it aside from the campfire. But if I open the door, now I'm getting an unwanted light show. Let me show you. The area around the front headlights light up. The combination code on the door is lit up. The side mirrors light up. Rather bright, too. The taillights light up. And let's not forget the bed lights. That'll blind everybody within 30 feet. I've tried to do everything I could, reading the owner's manual, hitting all the buttons. Apparently you can't do anything about this. You open the door, you get the lights. Not a good idea when you're camping, because now I just lost my night vision. I'm attracting insects. This isn't really a good idea. This seems to be a trait on high-end Fords, and you just have to live with it, I guess. Not exactly doing much for the battery life either. Oh well, that's the way it goes. It's time to get on the freeway for our second fuel economy test. In the meantime, I spent 2 hours cleaning up all that garbage those other people left on Labor Day. A curse on you, people. Slobs. In regards to the power steering, I didn't really care for it in city traffic. It didn't have much feedback and no on-center feel. On the freeway, though, it does tighten up quite a bit. It feels a lot more comfortable. I have a feeling that after driving this vehicle for a week or two, you'll get used to both, whether it's city or the highway. It's not a bad steering system, it just takes getting used to. Okay, time to check the fuel consumption figures. On the trip going up from 2,000 feet to 6,500 feet, we got 17.2 if you recall. Coming down, we got 21.2. That comes to an average around 18.7. Divide that into the heavy city traffic mileage of 13.0. The overall mileage comes to 16 miles per gallon. By comparison, this 2.7 liter EcoBoost that we tested prior to the V8 got 15 mpg in the city, 19 on the freeway, for an average of 17 mpg. Even Fords get dirty. By the way, we were fortunate enough to get the extended 36-gallon fuel tank option. That, combined with our fuel economy, we're going to be passing the 500-mile mark before we have to refill the tank. If you do a lot of driving, it's a good option to order. Overall, the Ford F-150 is an excellent truck. It's just a matter of knowing which engine will suit your purposes the best. For me, it's the V8, but perhaps the EcoBoost engines or the base V6 will work better for you.